Shivkumar has refused to undergo a COVID test as health officials arrived at the location of the Padyatra. In fact, DK Shivkumar has said that I am healthy, I don't need to undergo any random tests. Remember, meanwhile, at the same time, another Congress leader from Karnataka, in fact, former Chief Minister of the state, Siddharamaiah, has left the Padyatra midway after experiencing fever and body pain. Let me go across to my colleague Deepak. Deepak, this has been very worrying. On the one side, we are seeing that, especially with regard to the elections in the upcoming elections in the states, the election commission has clearly said there should be no Padyatra, no rally amid the COVID surge in the country. But on the other hand, we can see, of course, Karnataka is not one among those 5 states, but a Padyatra is being carried out by the Congress and their tallest leaders there behaving like this, essentially saying they will not take a random COVID test amid the surge we can see, especially in Bengaluru.
This Padyatra began yesterday, and there were of course a lot of questions that came up, that whether it's the right timing. The government of course objected to it. We had several objections that came in from the Congress to the government's objections, but overall what we saw yesterday was something that's definitely condemnable, because we saw thousands of people gather at a time where the state of Karnataka reported about 12,000 cases. Yesterday was a weekend curfew. Hundreds of vehicles were seized. Thousands of people, of course, have been fined in the last few weeks for not wearing a mask, for violating lockdown norms. But the question is, the government didn't do anything when thousands of people had gathered together, violating social distance norms and also not wearing a mask as well. Apart from that, we had, Mr. Siddharamaiah, who felt a little unwell, went away from the Padyatra. After the Padyatra concluded last evening, there were health officials who arrived at the camp where Mr. DK Shivkumar was staying. They asked him to undergo a COVID-19 test, where that's when he says that he's ready to go to jail, but he's not going to give a COVID-19 sample. He says he's walked about 15 kilometers. He's feeling healthy. He says if the health minister or the home minister wants, they can go undergo a health checkup and they can, get a COVID-19 test, but he's not going to give one, is what he says. We'll really have to see how this clash really concludes. Because at this point in time, it seems like the common man is the one who's suffering, because for these people who are taking part in the Padyatra, if any of them are infected and if it, of course, spreads, it's going to be thousands of people who are going to be going back home to their families, and then the families to meet other people, and then you could look at it as a super spreader event even. So is this the right time for the Congress party to carry out a Padyatra of this scale? And is this the need of the hour when the state is reporting a large number of cases? Also, the cases of hospitalization also is slowly on the rise. So there's definitely a lot to worry at this moment. But it seems like misplaced priorities seem to be taking over.
Right, very troubling indeed. And as we know, Deepak, these are, of course, the tallest leaders in Karnataka that we are talking about as far as Congress is concerned. Thank you so much for joining us with that update. And with that, it's a wrap on the bulletin. You can keep tracking more news and updates